You gonna warn a girl first? Well, if I knew you're putting me on, but you're still over there like headbanging, I don't really know what's happening. I was gonna say we're still not all with it after seminar, so no sudden movements. I'm like really poofy. I mean, not as poofy as I guess you are with, but I'm feeling poofy. Poofy. Hi, Robin. Robin says she can't hear you. I mean, I can hear you.
Okay. How about now?
Say things.
How about now? Sorry guys, I didn't have my mic turned on correctly.
She says I hear Jill, but not Steph.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, she says you're there now. Okay.
Okay. All right. Oh boy. So we are dual streaming. This is going to both our Quilt Nerding YouTube and my Twitch, allegedly. But like
allegedly.
I just don't have enough screen bandwidth to check. I need my other screen. I do have another screen, but
sorry, I forgot about Twitch, so I'm on it. Hold on. I was doing too much to like present the things. If you'll notice, everybody, the screen looks a little different tonight because we actually prepared a legitimate presentation to show instead of
Indeed.
just this file folder and this file folder and you get a file folder. Of course, my Twitch decides this is a good time to update, as always.
And so,
Uh-oh. You're making sudden movements. I'm nervous. Oh, Robin says you're there on Twitch.
cool. Thank you.
Good, because mine like just decided to open.
Let's see. Let's see. I am looking through all of these tabs. I'm gonna move us for a minute.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Look at this big, beautiful blue screen. It's not a blue screen of death, though. It's just a big, beautiful blue screen.
I like that color blue. It kind of matches my shirt.
All right.
I was gonna say, if you lost my stuff, I'm gonna kill you.
I did not.
Okay.
I'm doing a thing.
You're doing a thing?
I'm doing a thing so that I can get us on the screen in a different way.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So, are we ready?
I mean, I think so.
Are we ready to start talking about what we're here to talk about? Do we have announcements or anything? You know, I'm always like eager to jump into it, so.
No, we can actually probably mention that stuff at the end because it has to do with looking at more seminar things.
All right, ba-bam!
Well, you really just like slapped me in the face with that. Oh wait, no wait, I have my program right here. You were just like, wow. So what you guys have on here is the seminar pamphlet. What are the words?
It's like the seminar program.
That's it. Like, sorry, I still don't have any words. So I was originally going to take pictures to show you guys kind of the things that are offered here, but I write in my program. So, but like every day, see all this stuff is loaded with stuff. This thing is like, it's 17 pages long. It's got all of the schedule, all the things every single day going on, extra stuff going on. You know, the seminar committee is the front page with which Stephanie and I are listed on.
Our names are in there.
Yeah, there's lots of, it becomes like your seminar holy book the whole weekend, the whole week that we're there. And if you don't have one, you don't know what life is while you're there because there's so many things going on.
The times that I left the program, like sitting somewhere where I couldn't reach it, like my room, I was so confused. I was like, where am I? Where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? There's so much to do.
I have to keep like crossing the days off so that I know that we are in. It's very easy to be looking at the wrong day for things. So, anywho, I figured you guys would like to see what one of those looks like. They always pick a quilt too to like represent the seminar. So just because we're looking at this one is the Tarrytown Sanitary Fair quilt. The Tarrytown Sanitary Fair quilt was documented by the Connecticut Quilt Search Project in Manchester, Connecticut on February 6, 1993. The village of Tarrytown had about 600 inhabitants in 1860. The quilt was made in July 1864 as a fundraiser to benefit disabled Civil War soldiers. The Civil War would continue for another 9 months, ending on April 9th, 1865. In 2011, the Connecticut Quilt Search Project facilitated the quilt's donation to the Tarrytown Historical Society from its owners, Mr. and Mrs. Charles E. Crocker of Manchester, Connecticut. It's a very cool quilt. So there's a lot of content. we have a lot of stuff, like too much stuff to show you in one night. We were talking about it today.
We were remembering more stuff we forgot about.
Yeah, and it's funny because even with that, we still don't feel like we like got enough content. But anywho, there's seminar content of just like regular events that happen within the building and things. Then there's outside content of like when we take field trips to museums and things like that. Um, there's vendor content from the vendor room, so we have to break this up into more than one stream and or maybe like recorded video or something like that. So we already decided that aside from tonight, we're also going to dual stream on Monday the 16th at Stephanie's regular time of 2 p.m. Eastern. And on that particular stream, we're going to do specifically the seminar quilt exhibit that happens on site and the vendors. So it's almost like two big quilt shows in one, because that's really what the vendor hall is anyways. So we're going to do that. And then tonight, we're going to show you a smattering of
a smattering. I love that word.
All of the things. Yeah, like a little of this and a little of that and all of the things. So it's a lot. It's going to be a lot. Just no matter how exhausted you feel after, it can't be as exhausted as going through the whole week of seminar, but it's totally worth it. And we hope that this is going to convince you to come to the next one, which is in Portland, Maine in 2025, October 15th to 19th. If you've never been to Maine, that's like the most gorgeous time of the year to be there. And you should definitely do that.
Agreed.
All right, now pow with the next thing.
Okay. Ooh, the live auction. All right, let me switch over to that. Move us.
I got some really stinking cute video from the live auction.
I think I. Okay. Now let me see. I gotta first make sure I'm sharing computer sound. Yep. Okay. Why is this not going full screen?
It's those little arrows over there, isn't it?
Oh.
New York.
Pause for a second for me. So,
yeah, I was going to actually pause and ask the question. Could you tell us what a Juliet is?
Yep. So these ladies in the front here are known as the Juliettes, and they're basically kind of the auction helpers and runners throughout the auction, who, you'll see them later holding up the goods, and they take them around the room to show everybody. And they always have a theme every year. So last year they did the Kentucky Derby, and they rode in on little stick horses. So this year they're Rockettes, right? I'm pretty sure they're Rockettes.
Yeah, I believe that was the intention.
And then in the background there, in the green, is the Statue of Liberty, is Dana Balsamo, who is the owner, auctioneer extraordinaire of Dana Auctions. And then next to her there is Julie Silber, who everyone knows as the fabulous quilt dealer, and then she was the curator of the Esprit collection. If you're a nerd from the days of Barry Fawn's Quilt Nerd, and she had done a show about the Esprit collection. And then all these lovely ladies in the front are numerous. One you see right in the middle there is Tara Miller.
Yeah, where's Tara? Right here.
Yeah, she's right in the middle there.
Weird looking picture of her.
It is. We did. Of course, we're not stopped at like a pretty place. But anywho, that's who those people are.
Okay. Uh-oh. Is that right?
That's good.
Uh-oh.
frozen now.
I don't know. I think I might have too much like happening here.
To Sharon Pinker. Okay.
Yeah, that didn't play out well.
Yeah, okay. Now, it's part of my favorite. My favorite, so. Would Sleepy Hollow be without? Aw, man. I think these videos are just being pesky.
To Sharon Pinker. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, that didn't say
Reverse, folks. There is no batting. It's in really nice condition. Very, very graphic. Let's take this off.
Ooh, so pretty. I wonder who bid on this.
Okay.
That's cool.
It's pretty.
And this was generously donated by Susan Day. Thank you so much, Susan. Okay. That's right. None of this is possible without the generous donations of our members. All right, who'll start me off with $100? 100, I have 100 now, 110, 110, 110, 110 and 110, 100, 110 and 110 and 110, 110 now, 120, 120 now, 130, 130, 130, 140, 140, 140, 140, 150, 150, 150, 140, would you bid on 150, could you give 150, 150 to my right, 150, 160, 160, 160, 150, 160, 160, 160, 160, now 170, 170 now 180, would you bid 180, could you give 180, 180 now 190, 180, 190, 190, 190, 180, 190, 190 now 200, 200, 200, 190, 200, 200, 200, 190, would you bid 200, could you give 200 to go, 200 now, 2 and a quarter, 200, 2 and a quarter, 2 and a quarter, 2 and a quarter, 200, 2 and a quarter, 200, 2 and a quarter, 2 and a quarter, where was it? 2 and a quarter, 2 and a quarter, now 2 and a half, 2 and a quarter, 2 and a half, 2 and a half, 2 and a half, 2 and a quarter, would you bid 2 and a half, could you give 2 and a half, could you go 2 and a half, all in, all done. And we sold at $225 to Jill. What is your number tonight, Jill?
One.
Number one?
Yes, Jill was number one.
And it's got a pillar print applique border, which is so interesting. It imitates a pillar print, but it's not applique, it's piece, isn't it, Dana? It's piece, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So it imitates a pillar print, but it's done in patchwork. Totally cool. This does have some loss.
Received by mail 10 books that influenced or were important to Beth's in shaping her life. Okay?
Oh, I
It
forgot about
includes
that.
stitching, American Quilts and Coverlets by Florence Pito, Quilts and Coverlets by Jean Ray Laurie, Quilting Patchwork Applique and Trapunto by Thelma Newman, Ruby McKim's 101 Patchwork Patterns, the Heritage Project, Quilt Project of New Jersey, Passion for Quilts, Florence Pito, Carrie Hall, and Rose Kretzinger, Romance of Patch. I mean, it just goes on and on. Oh, we have Bets Ramsey and Mary Kay Warvogel's The Quilts of Tennessee. Mary Kay Warvogel's Patchwork Souvenirs of the 1933 World's Fair. Some of these are kind of hard to get, folks. Jonathan Holstein's The Pieced Quilt, and more, okay? Who will start this off at $200? I have 200 now, 2 and a quarter. 2 and a quarter now, 2 and a half. 2 and a quarter, but 2 and a half. 2 and a half now, 275. 275 now, 300, 300, 300, 300 now, 3 and a quarter. 3 and a quarter now, 3 and a half. 3 and a half now, 375. 375 now, 400. 400 now, 4 and a quarter. 4 and a quarter now, 4 and a half. 4 and a half now, 475. 475 now, 500. 500 now, 5 and a half. 5 and a half now, 600. 600 now, 6 and a half. 6 and a half now, 700 now, 7 and a half. 7 and a half to 7 and a half. And now 800, 800, 8 and a half, now 900. 900, 900, 900. 8 and a half, 900, 900, 900. 900, 900, 900, now 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. 900, 1,000. Come on, hit it one more time. Now 1,000, now 1,100. 1,100, now 1,200. 1,100, 1,200, 1,200, 1,200.
Aw, man.
What happened to your sound?
1,100, 1,200. 1,100, would you bid? 1,200, could you give? 1,200.
It's like it's buffering for some reason.
Go 1,200, all in, all done.
Yeah, Stephanie won something too. I just didn't get video of it. And then these were just a couple extra shots of some other things that were offered. The auction's one of the like the funnest parts for me of seminar. Even if you're not gonna buy, it's just really lively, funny. And that's why I knew I had to get video of Lisa Erlinson. She's a major collector of Bets Ramsey's quilts. And I knew she was gonna be funny.
I wonder if she wants all of those wonderful books that Bets is going to include in the quilt. I wonder if we can strike a deal with Lisa.
Right?
These two pictures are ones I took. I was sitting beside Mary Kay Waldvogel. That is Mary Kay Waldvogel looking at the quilt. And then I think the one next to it, was it Burgoyne Surrounded? I can't remember. It's Burgoyne something. This was the last quilt, and I think it's a top. So
I like never remember things that were in the auction like after the fact. If I didn't like, I
especially
never
if you didn't bid on it or win it, right?
Well, like you're starting over again there. I it's funny, last year like I bid something up pretty high that I really wanted, and I let it go. It went for, I don't know, $400 more, something than I was willing to pay. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, what was it?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's like my brain is trying to like protect me from the trauma or something of not like getting it. All they do is like they put out a list on your table after dinner for you to look, so like in the line like what's coming next and stuff. And when they say lot number blah, so you don't. Other than that, you get to preview them in the silent auction. They have a table for them. So, yeah, I don't. Although I will say I won one other thing. I won a box of all different. It was the lot number whatever, and then it was titled "Box Under the Bed," and it was they sure knew how to get me. It was a box of ephemera and stuff. I have no idea what's in it. I haven't looked at it. We're gonna do an unboxing of it where we're gonna discover together. And it was so funny. Stephanie that time was on the other side of the room. I think you were sitting with Mary Kay or something.
I was.
Not necessarily paying attention, and you came over and saw. You're like, yeah, I knew I didn't have to deal with it. I was hoping you get it anyways.
Yeah, I was already tapped out with my my big booty eagle win. So, I was like,
when you do study center on the Eagles, I really think you're gonna have to be like, Birdie got back. Indeed. Hi Jen, if you're watching, with the big bootied Eagles.
Oh my goodness. So, what have we here?
So this is a preview. I put in a couple of quilts from the quilt exhibit that was put on by Sharon Waddell and Deb Grana. And I believe all of them quilts from their collections. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And they were, what was it, 19th century New York quilts?
Yes, I believe so.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's what they called them. Yeah. So this is one of the things that we experimented opening up to the public. They could come in for $10 and view the exhibit and get into the vendors. And this was one of the first quilts when you walked into the room, which was really cool because I immediately noticed, oh my god, look, there's another eagle. That one's not a big booty eagle though.
No, but there's an elephant, and it is not the Republican Party elephant. It is circus elephants were kept nearby elephant. So I think a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people really responded to this one, but there are many, many others. This was one of my favorites, but there's another one that I was just like, ah! If Deb Grana wasn't there looking, I would have snatched it off the wall and run.
The quilts were fantastic in the exhibit. I was pretty bummed. I had to go through it pretty quickly because I was too busy doing, I don't even know at this point what I was doing. Apparently I was doing things.
You were doing something. I don't remember what it was though, because I know I ran over there. We got permission from Sharon, and then I ran over there and got it right before they were closing up.
Yeah, if you go to the next one, I've got some close-ups.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I got your eagle, and then I made sure to zoom in on that signature there.
Yeah, these little perfect little signatures. A lot of these quilts had signatures, so pretty good stuff.
I did find out, by the way, that you can zoom in when you're in presenter mode. See on the bottom there, the spyglass with the plus. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, right? That was a very happy discovery.
Indeed. Oh, look good. I guess you could put it. Can you put it where you want it? Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I kind of enjoy presenting through Canva because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but I really love this heart. I thought that was just really like a Valentine.
It's very involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very involved heart. Hi, Druid and Cultish. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you before. I didn't have the Twitch chat up.
Hi guys.
Because I'm rude apparently.
I have no chats up, so I have no idea. I'm just talking to Jill here. I have no idea who's here.
Well, you know, people.
Yeah.
People.
Okay. Now it won't stop zooming. Okay. What else have you got? Okay.
I had to throw in this like little white.
Yes, another exhibit quilt. This one, Albany Lily. Yeah, this was well, why is it doing that? Okay. Gorgeous.
Yeah, it was that the border treatment is. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. I do have a close up on the next screen page.
Ah, yes, there it is. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, that crosshatch quilting is like perfect. Obviously, like I don't walk around with like a tape measure in my bag. Maybe I should, but it looks like it's so perfectly gridded.
I believe you are correct.
Yeah.
And of course, I was looking at the applique. The applique is just.
Oh no, that too.
Yeah.
But the quilting really stood out under the light for me.
Yeah, and you know, surprisingly, the light for like a conference room kind of thing, the light was really pretty good in there.
Yeah, no, I was also pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I was worried because when I took video that we will see on another day, as Jill said, yeah, I was pretty pleased. Like I think it came out good. Oh, what is this?
So, Stephanie and I did a social media presentation called From Quilts to Clicks, Navigating Social Media. What's really interesting about this photo is the background on our presentation screen is not blue.
Yeah, it's weird. It
It's
was completely white. Yeah, it was a completely white screen, and I don't know if it's from the. It might just be the angle.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't.
Because like maybe... that, like the quilt there that you see, like it doesn't have a blue tinge to it. So that's odd.
But at least we're not blue. We're wearing blue.
No,
shirts,
that's true.
but...
And I'm wearing the same shirt today that I was wearing in that photo. And Stephanie is wearing that brand new Quilt Nerding and Cake TV merch that I wore the next day. But anywho, this is the only picture from our presentation because we did record it for AQSG and other members that weren't there or maybe wanted to watch it again because we had a couple people that had to skip out early to get to other things because ours started late because the lunch speaker ran over. So like, you know, when you go to seminar, you gotta be flexible because stuff happens.
Yeah.
So at first we were like, I think no one's coming to our talk, which to be honest might have been totally fine because the less people are there, the less people that can, like, I don't know, scrutinize your presentation. But
this is true, but lots of people ended up coming, so it was all good.
Yes, we had lots of people. And we had, it's funny, we had some friends come in and we were kind of like, you guys, this is way too basic for you. Like, you guys already know what you're doing. And they were like, I'm coming in to support my friends. So, and we were like, well, fine, but if the room fills up, you got to get out. It's like, it's not for you. Because the room was on the smaller side. It was like, I love you, but like, sometimes it's not about you. But it was good because they asked like interesting questions and then agreed with things that we were saying. It would have been really bad if they came in and disagreed with things that we were saying.
Yeah, luckily we were all consistent with what our friendly faces had to say as well. So, and I
Go
think
ahead.
that some of the things that they kind of raised their hand and added it was really good. You know, it was good stuff. So I always like those kind of presentations when there's, you know, friendly input from the audience that makes it even better.
Yeah, and you know something time-wise, because our presentation was supposed to be an hour, we started like a half an hour late, and then at the end, we only ended up going 15 minutes over. But that's really only because people asked questions in the middle of our presentation, like they didn't wait till the end, and that's fine. But it just meant that we took time to explain things or mention other things that were brought up or something. So I would, if anyone ever complained that it went 15 minutes over, I'd be like, well, it's your fault. I wanted to be accommodating to your fabulous question. And yeah, they were good questions.
Yeah, they were. They really were.
No one asked rude questions.
Yeah, and I think we got some suggestions for like the next type of presentation they would like to see, and we already had kind of some heads up from the vendors that they might like some more business related social media information.
And also our friend Ann Hermes took this photo.
Yeah.
And Stephanie has voluntold her that she is now the official quilt nerding photographer.
Yes. Because of all of the ugly pictures that got taken of me this past week, Anne's were the least ugly. And this one, I mean, I could even go as far as saying we are both acceptable looking.
It's not even pretty, we're just acceptable. I mean, I felt really good because I was like, Anne, what kind of filter? Like, this photo doesn't look the same as like if you were looking at it on your phone, but I was like, what kind of filter did you put on there? And she's like, nothing. And I was like, I thought for sure it was a filter from that blue cast in the background. And I was like, oh my God, you mean my skin really looks that good? Oh.
Yeah. Were some hideous pictures taken of me. I had to make some threats.
Actually, when I called her today and I was like, what are we going to put in this thing and what are we going to keep out? And then I was like, so I took some pictures from your study center. I'm like, don't worry. I deleted some really disgusting ones that I took. Because when you're trying to get pictures of someone that's moving around, it's really, I didn't take any video, and it's very easy to get a picture where someone's just like, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not good at, I think often people who present kind of like they pay attention to the fact that people might be taking a picture of them, and so they kind of stop. And I'm terrible at that. I'm just like in motion, looking like, one of those flaily armed guys at the car lots.
She really did do that during her presentation. She went all around doing things like, and here's flailing arms, Sue. Like,
yeah. Speaking of, I did a study center,
and she worked out just one arm for 6 months to get it to look like.
Yeah,
like
that was Sue.
Sue.
So my study center was the end of seminar. It was on Sunday, later in the day, and so I think it was probably a good thing that it was a little bit less serious of a study center. And I guess we should probably tell people what study centers are. If you've never been to seminar, some of the terminology for what happens there can sometimes be confusing, but a study center is not really a lecture. It's sort of a presentation, and it is typically about something that you're studying. And so, I have kind of a premise about Sue. And, hey, Maradim. Yeah, it's not Sura, Princess of Power, because, I really think He-Man was a little bit further up there in the universal echelon, and I think that Sue needs that position and not just the Princess of Power. I mean, please. she needs to be queen of the universe. But it was very tongue-in-cheek, and my premise kind of is, you know, what's the through line through the 20th century and into now about like, you know, the semantics of cute, and, you know, this whole idea of sentimental cliches, and, you know, the representation of women, you know, Sue being this representation of you know, of women. So there's kind of a, you know, a feminist tone to it, a lot of pop culture stuff, and we did a little game, we did a little trivia bingo game where I threw out some stuff and people had to figure it out.
That was fun.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
the picture here, well, besides Sue He-Man, this was my my setup, my kind of my trunk show. This is about 2/3 of my Sunbonnet Sue collection, and other items.
Wait, 2/3?
Yeah, it's about 2/3. Yeah, there's
Oh
more stuff.
my.
Yeah, there was stuff.
I don't think you told me that while I was unpacking Sue after Sue after Sue.
Yeah, this is not all of my Sue quilts, not all of my Sue ephemera. So yeah, I have a lot of Sue stuff.
I have to point out, for anyone, if Stephanie ever tries to claim that I am a bad friend, see that rack all those Sues are hanging on? I brought 3 just so she had racks to choose from. And I had Sunday haul that stuff down from the attic into the car. So if she ever tries to be like, well, Jill, you guys are the ones that get to say, like, but the racks.
Well, and then there's all the bruises that I have from carrying that rack. But
yeah, so she has the nerve to be like, your rack gave me a splinter. And I was just like, excuse me, you wouldn't even have a rack.
I do appreciate the racks, because I was gonna have to set up something else for the quilts, and it wasn't gonna work as well. So,
no, it would not have been as visually pleasing with all the different heights of things.
Yeah. So this presentation got recorded as well, and there's a like sort of a trunk show component of it that I have to redo, because my plans, not that they went awry, but they kind of went awry.
How on earth are you going to redo that trunk show thing?
Oh, I have. There's a method to my madness. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I just have to redo it. But the plan had been to present for like an hour and a half or hour and 15, and then folks would then be able to look at the ephemera and the quilts and stuff, and then I could record some of that. Everybody was like, you know what? It's like 3:30 on a Sunday. We're ready to go. So I was like, but you can stay and look. All right, bye-bye.
Maybe I guess for anyone thinking of doing this kind of format next year, at like the if they might not do study centers on Sunday next year, who knows? But if you do, maybe you start with the trunk show and then talk about.
I can say that, as you know, we were waiting for people to come in, and, you know, people that were early and stuff, people were looking at the stuff. So, you know, it wasn't like this display was for naught. It just, you know, I didn't get to go through it the way I had planned. So
I really wanted for everyone to collectively analyze Hefty Bag Sue, though. I was really looking forward to that. And then like what do you call the one that looks like a potato sack? Is that like Dumpy Sue or something?
Weeble Sue.
Weeble Sue.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there one that's like Frumpy Sue, or I don't know?
No, I don't specifically have a Frumpy Sue. Weeble Sue and Hefty Bag Sue are probably the dumpiest of Sues.
And she really does look like a hefty bag. There's probably another picture on another side that we maybe will zoom into.
Well, what I was gonna say is, you know, all of this stuff will go into the presentation that is going to AQSG members, but also I do own this content and I recorded it myself, so it will be available at some point. I think, not to digress us, but I am working on a Patreon type of area, so these kinds of things will be available for subscribers through there. So this will be available in more detail. But when Jill's talking about Hefty Bag Sue is right here. this
And
poor
boy,
Mongol
is
Sioux.
she hefty, hefty, hefty.
Yeah, they look absolutely like little hefty bags with sunbonnets, or and they're not even sunbonnets. They're just sort of like poor thing. And then Weeble Sue is right here. That's Weeble Sue. I should also mention that I ended up with 2 Sue items from seminar. The one behind me, Jill hasn't even seen yet.
Yeah, what do you mean you got Sue's from seminar?
So this was a gift from our dear friend Kellen, who...
Oh!
Yes, I don't think Kellen is here because Kellen is still traveling. She came into town with her husband, but she came to seminar, and she came to my study center, and she brought Jill and I gifts. And this was one of our gifts. This was my gift, and it's a very light colored quilt. It's very faded.
Mhm.
It's been loved. But it is so fantastic. The Sues have little hands with little
They
fingers.
do. And you didn't take a picture ahead of time?
I did not. I literally just pulled this out of my suitcase right before the stream. I was like, oh, I should put that up. But what is difficult to see, and I will absolutely take pictures of this, but what's difficult to see is there are names embroidered under each Sue. It's a
Oh, I
woman's
can
first name.
barely tell that there's a name there, yeah.
Yeah, like this one says Nellie. This is Eugenia. This is Dolly. Isabel. Fanny.
Of course.
And then we have the silent auction, and now I'm trying. Did you put? I can't remember if you put pictures of the silent auction in here.
No, I didn't. I didn't take any. I
okay.
spent no time in there.
Well, what I will turn my camera just a little bit to see. Let me move my mic some. Is that I got I won a quilt top in the silent auction, and it is the Sues are slightly different, but they have names on them as well, and the handwriting is so very similar. It's like the handwriting of the time period.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like they could have been made, by neighbors. It was wild to me because I got the one from the silent auction the night before, and I had just folded up and thrown it in my hotel room. And then I opened this lovely gift from Kellen, and I was like, oh my gosh, 2 Sues with all of these cute, I guess at this point they're really antique, but these like 1930s, very 1930s names, and 1930s being the peak of Sue, the peak of Sue-ness. It was just really cool, It's like that serendipity. So
It's not related to Sue, but I will point out too that I also got a gift from Kellen when we were at Stephanie's place. She wouldn't let us open them in front of her, which is totally fine. I didn't get a Sue, but she did get me some like unfinished business that was a star of Bethlehem unfinished top with like the pieces still in the fabric and stuff. It's very cool. Thank you so much, Kellen, for gifts.
Yes, Kellen. We have corresponded in with my thank yous, but I would publicly like to say you are so sweet, so very nice. And there was actually another little thing in my gift I'll have to show Jill later, but it's a little ornament. It's a Sue.
You're
ornament.
just hiding stuff from me.
I completely forgot to grab it. It's a Sue ornament, and it has the name Jill stitched on it, so it's a Jill Sue. I will show it off next time. So,
Helen bought you a Sue that's a Jill, so I can live inside your home.
Yeah. I can't get rid of you. All right. Oh yes, I forgot about this picture. I did parade about in my my sunbonnet for a moment.
Notice how I was nice enough to not even show your face.
Well,
because you can't see Sue's face.
I am being Sue at that moment. Yeah. So.
And that's Kellen sitting in the front there.
Oh, right here.
In the second picture, yeah.
And you could see how well attended my study center was. There
are other people you can't see in the photo.
I know. I'm
just
joking.
I'm sitting all the way in the back.
Yeah, there were like 10 or
12, I think.
Something 12. Like that, yeah.
It was definitely set up differently than the year before. There's Mary Fonz and her mother, Marianne.
Yeah. And then here is our friend Vanessa, who works with you at the museum.
She was taking very, very studious notes.
She was a very good student. I was excited to see that. And then our friends Becky and Carrie. Carrie is the executive director for AQSG, and then Becky is the operations manager. I think I often get her title wrong, but I think that's right, as operations manager. And they took a little break because they had just a really, really, really busy week. And they were like, you know what? Seminar's almost over. We're going to step away and we're going to sit in a study center. And they chose mine. I was so excited. I thought that was so cool.
And
Also,
Becky won your bingo.
Yes, Becky won my bingo. And yeah, there's a story about that, but I'm not gonna share that.
What?
There,
Can't believe you didn't even share a photo of the prize.
I know, I'm so bad.
Come on, this is all about tea here. You got to spill the tea.
Okay, so I'll spill the tea on this. So I had made this very cute little Sue pouch. Because I mean,
I can show something similar.
I love little zippered pouches and things. They're very useful. And I made it with some very cool Cranston cheater print fabric I collected, and some cyanotype fabric that I had made myself that was in my stash. And I was very excited about it. That was very cute. I even sewed this little label on the inside, and I can't remember where I bought these labels, but it says future heirloom. So
and she has her own little Sue pattern, which is the same Sue she used for my Duncan Sue.
Yeah, this is a little Sue pattern that I traced it off of my own Sue, the what I call meta Sue, which is the Sue that my grandmother made for me. And anyway,
I didn't know it was the same Sue as your grandmother's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my grandma's.
That's so sweet.
So I had intended, of course, to put a little like a cake thing on this pouch, and I was even gonna do like Seminar Sue, like in the writing that I put on my quilts often. Well, the way that I do these written things is I iron freezer paper on the back of typically vintage like tablecloth or vintage sheets. Like they have a nice Druid says my volume needs to come up a little bit. I hope that's better. I moved my mic, and you know how this goes, Druid. So anyway, I will iron that fabric onto freezer paper that stabilizes it, and then I will, having drawn out or written out the letters how I want it, I can then put that paper or that paper-backed fabric over it, and then I have like fabric pens and markers that I'll then draw with. So I did all that before I left, and I was like, it's that one last thing I have to do, and I had several days before my study center, and it was a quick little stitch job to stitch those pieces on. Well, the night I get there, I'm like, you know what? I have an hour or so. I'm going to get this done so I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week, and I'll have my little prize all ready to go. So I sit down on my hotel bed, and I dump out all my sewing stuff, and I pull out that piece of fabric and my scissors, and I'm ready to cut those things out, and I realize all of the tracing and drawing I did was on the paper and not on the fabric. So that's kind of where my brain was in, like another space altogether as I was prepping for seminar. So yeah, the pouch had none of the things on it other than Sue that I had intended. So anyway, Becky gave it back to me.
Yeah, Becky gets it, right? And she's like looking at it, and she's basically, it's not even labeled. And like throws it on the table.
So yes, I can get great pictures of it before I send it back to Becky. So it was good though that Becky won and not somebody I didn't know, because it would have been hard to explain, like,
Vanessa and I were working really hard so that she could win it.
Well, what I would like to also point out is this quilt here, which was gifted to me also at seminar. And it's packed up in my stuff, so it's actually in my storage unit right now. It's not even here, but it's by a woman named Fran Kardec, and she and her daughter made this quilt. I want to say it was in the late 90s. It's dated. It's got a whole thing on the back of it with a label, but it's Liberated Sue. So we've got...
you can probably zoom into some of it.
Yeah, let me see if I can. zoom into that. All right, come on. Move it over. Yeah. So it's got married Sue. So same-sex marriage. I can't remember what this one. I think this is Survivor Sue because I think those are the little breast cancer ribbons. We've got Soldier Sue, and we've got, I think, Voter Sue.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember what's over here. There's like 2 other Sues on here. And then all of these little brown blips are actually words. And so it's things like Dr. Sue, Lawyer Sue, Sue PhD, like all of these empowered and liberated things. And so I was very excited that Fran gifted this to me. And she and I had talked sort of long before seminar, so I knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. And she was concerned, she's trying to downsize, and her daughter was not interested in keeping the quilt, and she was concerned about it going to Goodwill. And I said, I will never let a quilt go to Goodwill. And, I was like, I would be honored to have it in my Sue collection and be its caretaker. So I am its caretaker. And what I completely forgot to tell you, Jill, you may not know this, is that Fran Kardec is good friends with our friend Amy Pabst.
I think I knew that. Wasn't she in the room when we were in Amy's room last year?
Yeah, I think she was. And I think that I forgot who she was. So it was nice to reconnect with her. And, yeah. So, there was another picture in here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so there you go. There's the other. Is that
boy.
the other side of the video?
That's a weird picture of me. We're just gonna, I'll put my own head over my head.
Really? That's a weird picture? God, you should have seen the ones I deleted.
Oh, I don't ever want to know. Yeah, and I have to say, we kind of threw this little display up, pretty quickly, and I was kind of proud of it. I thought it looked pretty good. It was cute.
Hey, you can get a close-up of Hefty Bag and Weeble Sue.
Ah, yes, I can.
Hefty, hefty, hefty.
She is indeed a little hefty bag of a person with these little
and
feet.
every time I hear that, like, hefty, 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 and then I hear the wimpy, wimpy, wimpy. So I feel like there needs to be.
So
Actually, I guess the Sues above them can be the wimpy Sues.
Yeah. Weeble, weeble, weeble. Yes, you might recognize Mushroom Head Sue. Wink, wink. And then this one is actually a Nancy Page alphabet quilt, but the D for doll or dolly was repeated as a like an alternate. So I consider her to be a Sue as well, even though she's technically not a Sue.
She is very Sue-like.
She's very Sue-like. She's Sue adjacent, I feel.
Okay, for a second I thought you were gonna say sewage.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of sewage going on. Oh, yeah, so Druid said it's funny with your head on me. So let's see. There we go. So if you move your head around, look, it's like, oh.
I'd be like, why did nobody bring any chips?
All right, what's next? Oh, vendors.
So I was in charge. I was the chairperson for the vendor hall this year, and I have also been asked to be the chair for the vendor hall next year. So, yay! It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And I covered for you while you were at a field trip.
Yeah,
so it was a lot of work.
Stephanie was a booth babe, helping the vendors set up on Wednesday. The vendors were lovely. Like nobody was a poop or anything. Oh man, one of those pictures is showing up weird on the YouTube. Nobody was a poop. That's great. The hotel was a poop. The hotel was a disaster to deal with. The event coordinator in particular was not very congenial. Hey Steph, can you? No, you're not. Never mind. You're in presenter mode. Never mind.
Is there
I was
something
just gonna
wrong
ask
with
you
one of these?
the underneath the Hudson River quilts on YouTube. It kind of cut off Lisa's name
Oh, cuts
a
off
bit.
Lisa's name. Yeah, I guess it's the size. It's
Yeah.
probably. Let's see if I can fix that.
I mean, it still has her business name, so it's not the end of the world. But I was just gonna bump it up if not. Anywho, so the hotel was a nightmare. Pipe and Drape was 2 hours late the morning of setup, which the oh yeah, that's better. Um, the schedule, not just like the schedule like here, for events, like the whole schedule is really tight. And if if something pushes things back, like example, like the day lunch went over and there were speakers and things, and that pushed me and Stephanie back a half an hour, it can be really problematic, because people are really counting on, getting done with certain things to go on to other things. And like, it's not the end of the world. It just makes things more stressful, and you potentially affect an entire, rest of the day. So some of these vendors had planned on getting out of the room, sooner, because like one of them, Jane Lurie, she was hosting a tour of ours the next day at her house. So she had things to do. And anywho, there's a lot of moving parts. Um, Setting up booths is a lot of work. And but they turned out beautiful
Mm-hmm.
for
It was
everyone.
a really cool. Yeah, I thought it was a really cool looking space once they got it all together, and it was so funny because, well, I mean, I knew you'd seen the room beforehand, and then you saw it, pretty much as it was close to done. But to be in there all day as they were setting up in and out, and it goes from like literally a completely empty. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it would have been considered like a ballroom. They called it a salon, but
we had
it would
we
have
had
been like a
three
ballroom.
salons
Yeah,
together.
would have been like a ballroom opened all up, and to watch that go, and then the pipe and drape people came in again 2 hours late. Um, I
And
have
then
to
when
say,
they finally showed up having no tape measure.
yeah. I hate to throw people under the bus, but they did cause a lot of chagrin, and stress. And one, our coordinator, there was an AQSG member who had experience in event and conference planning, and so she was kind of the liaison. And so when the pipe and drape people hadn't come at 8 a.m. when they were supposed to, and it's dragging on and dragging on and dragging on, she gets on the phone with them. And I believe that there was probably a little bit of time, like they were trying to get in touch with them and nobody could get in touch with them. So when she finally spoke with them, I kind of overheard her saying, I had a conversation with you yesterday that your team would be getting here at 8 a.m. Was I just supposed to assume that means 10 a.m.? Because it's 10 a.m. And I was like,
I actually found out, by the way, that she is actually not an AQSG member. She is
Oh.
hired out. Yeah,
I
she's
see.
hired out.
I thought she was a member. In any
I
event.
thought so too.
Yeah, in any event, it's like Jill said, it's one thing just to be impatient and annoyed, but that time. I mean, it only takes like one little blip, and then the schedule gets like real shaky when things don't happen when they're supposed to. So,
Well, that, and people get really stressed out, and
yeah, because it's just it's a chain, causes chain reactions.
Druid said, and I'm assuming Druid that you said this when I was talking about how I ended up chairing the vendor. She said, "Look how you get yourself into these things."
Yeah, I don't know
But the
how it
nice thing
happens.
is that it's funny. I had tried to talk Stephanie into doing a tour with me on the Wednesday, and she was like, "I don't really, I'm not gonna like. I'm just gonna hang out here, and whatever." And I was like, "Well, you are being voluntold to help the vendors." And one of the oh my god, the guy doing the silent auction, Neil, is a hoot and a half. And he was just like, "Oh, Stephanie, you're gonna be around, like, come help me." And I was like, "No, she belongs to me. She's doing things for me. She's not helping you." And because there were like 75 people helping the silent auction, and I was like, Stephanie's blood, sweat, and tears are mine.
Yes, and I left those on the vendor room floor.
You can probably still see the essence of Stephanie in the room if you go there today.
Yeah, for sure. I do have to say though, just being able to look at all of the beautiful things that the vendors have, I mean, it's like looking at another exhibit.
Oh, at least. I mean, there were probably a good, between all of them, they probably had close to like 500 quilts in there, among other things like sewing tools and stuff like that. There was a night that Stephanie ditched me and she went to bed like a chump. And I took, there's 2 nights that the vendors are open late. And when I say late, I mean like 11. They open at like 8:30. They stay open until 11 because it's one of the only times they can fit it in. The first night, everyone it's called the vendor preview. That was on Thursday. And people were pooping out around like 10. And it was, I mean, even like people coming into shop were pooping out. So pretty much around 10:30, everyone was like, okay, I'm crispy, goodbye. And we closed up. The next night, we did the live auction. And this year, they moved the live auction from Saturday to Friday because I'm one of the people that was like, hey, we should consider moving this because last year, as I'd mentioned before, I had bid a quilt up pretty high and then let it go. And afterwards, after the auction was over, I had a significant amount of money burning a hole in my pocket, and I was like in the mood to shop. The vendors were closed. They close up by Saturday afternoon, and we'd had the live auction last year Saturday night. So I was like, that's a real missed opportunity because they pack up real fast. The put up is slow, the pack up's pretty quick. So someone had said to me back then when last year when I'd been like, oh, I kind of wish I'd go to the vendors. Someone's like, go in there. Like, they'll take out things for you. And I didn't know anybody well enough to walk in and be like, hey, unpack your stuff again. I probably wouldn't have wanted to do that anyways, unless there was something I'd been eyeballing that I could say like, hey, so-and-so, I think now I want to pull the trigger on that quote. But I was like, I feel like lots of people, you really get into the groove of in the auction. It's like spend,
Yes.
There's a reason we have cocktail hour, so although people probably weren't anywhere near as drunk this year as they might have been last year because a glass of wine was $17. So New York is expensive.
Very.
So we moved it to Friday, and after the auction this time around, there was a horde of people waiting to get in there. So we went from, I think around 9 or something like that to 11. In the moment, I heard people saying that it was worthwhile to do that, and they did do some decent sales then. But then that night, I decided this is probably the best time when it started getting, it probably died at like 10. They were probably doing buy for like an hour, and then around 10 it died. So I was like, this is a good time to get good photo, some video of things in the vendor booth. I got permission from every single vendor to take photo and video of things in their booth, except there were a few things that were off limits, which is fine. So I was like, well, this is going to be the time to do it because on the Saturday is when we were open to the public. And I wasn't going to do it during then for a whole variety of reasons. And Stephanie's just like, well, I'm dead. I'm going to go to bed. And then I was like, crap. This is really going to be the only time to do this. Well, I guess I'm just going to do this thing. And that's why when she was mentioning like, oh, we have to go get things of the exhibit. I'm like, you're on your own, babe. Peace.
Well, I got the exhibit. You got the vendors. It all worked out.
So there is more vendor photos. If you want to.
Yeah, this is just a teaser. This is just
a
teaser.
I'm just showing you guys one picture from each vendor. We had 9 vendors.
And I think you got pictures of some of my favorite stuff. This quilt, this was in Julie's booth. She didn't sell it, did she? I don't think she did.
It wasn't when I was in there. I got more detail shots of those too.
Mhm.
There's some ridiculous stuffed work in that quilt.
Yeah, all of these little birds and things in the middles of the flowers are stuffed applique.
And,
The little buildings are so like it's not really a schoolhouse. It's like a little.
It's very
little
folky.
building. Yeah, it's really cute. And then it has a picket fence.
Myself and Jill Mazzaros and Sunday all had a very important philosophical discussion about all that stuffed work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Very, very important. We
Okay.
solved problems.
Well, I guess we'll get to that when we look at
conversation.
look in more detail. And so here's more.
Yeah, so that quilt there on the end with Mary Koval, when I was going through and picking out some photos to share, I realized in Mary Koval's booth I had only taken video, because it's one of the hard things was I was trying to get picture and video when people weren't around. I didn't want to get people in the videos and the photos and stuff, but it's hard to do that when there's people milling around, because you can't just be like, could you move, like
Much as you would like to.
yeah, like I can't just be like, can you get out of my way, so I can like do this thing. I'm more
trying to get some
important right
content
now.
here.
Yeah, like get out of my face, stop talking. Like I couldn't do that. Like I had to be polite, and professional. And wait, because at the end of the day, this is a major give and take scenario here. It's a really big deal that these vendors are allowing us to have get content from them, even though the give and take is we will plug their business and you can get in touch with them. But anywho, I'd only managed some video from Mary Koval's. So I was like, crap, I got to get a still. So I'm literally like on my phone playing the video and somehow managed to get, as I'm panning by, like managed to get that quilt with that like incredible quilting on it. That trapunto is out of this world. The lighting was just mwah. And I will say in this moment, Mary Koval is really like closing up shop. She has sold her quilt shop that had a retreat center, and she's downsizing out of all of her antique stuff and whatnot. And she said I could tell people that at this point she's selling things at what she paid for them. So definitely pay attention to that and get in touch with her. She also said this was her last show setup. She doesn't plan on doing any, I don't know if that will change at any point, but at this point, there are no plans to do any more shows. So it's purely, get in touch with her, but you will see videos of her booth. She did leave with things. She didn't sell out. I don't know if this quote was one of them. So just keep that in mind as you're going to be watching stuff on Monday. And then we have Jane Lurie's booth here, and Kathy Liston, she had a bunch of quilts too. The reason I put this picture here of her having some sewing stuff is because she was one of the vendors that also had like some cute like sewing tools and things like that, which Stephanie and I also really love. I did end up buying some while I did eventually shop some things in the mall, because my wonderful husband, who was there helping with IT things for the vendors in AQSG, he was like, hey, you didn't get an anniversary present. You should pick things out. So I did. I'll have to show those another day. Did you even see them?
You did. You showed them to me.
Oh, okay.
And wasn't that sweet of Sunday? Whereas my husband was like, you bring one thing home, you're in trouble.
Oh, but you did bring something home.
Well, I didn't bring one thing home.
Is that why you picked the smallest thing?
No, I didn't bring one thing home. I brought many things home. Yes, I have. Well, I mean, this was a gift. What am I supposed to do when people bring me gifts?
I guess technically the thing you got for me too was also a gift. So, yeah, what are you supposed to do? Say no?
Right? It's a difficult situation. So this is I think this is the last of the vendor stuff. Yes. And Stella Rubin's quilt, I helped hang that quilt. It is an amazing quilt. I'm in love with that
Mhm.
quilt. Yeah, that one and that one in Julie's booth. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, the Stella Rubin quilt, I have more photos of, and I'm pretty sure I took some panned video. That thing is some of the most ridiculous folk art
Hmm.
like I've ever seen. Um, and
And this pine tree quilt that Julia had, I helped hang that too. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous quilt.
I helped pick that out and fold it and get her all packed up to go. She lives not far from me. She lives in the same state, which is weird because for a long time I thought she lived in Connecticut, and she does not. So I helped pick that out. It looks even prettier in her booth than it did when I saw it at her house. I'm shocked that I'm pretty sure it was still there when she packed up. The problem too is like they still had another day to sell after I took these. So there is a potential that some of the things that I took photos of are gone. And I did not take stock ahead of time. So if you do fall in love with something when we show it to you, just be prepared that it could be gone by then. And then over here in Nancy Hahn's booth, that is a whole box of channelings that she had, which are incredible.
Very
I did
pretty.
not I did not touch any of them. I'm sorry. There's no essence on my hands.
I did
But
one
they
of these.
would.
Oh, pretty. Now let me move away before I get some ideas about buying these things.
Yeah, I mean in hindsight, I should have had her open the case to take the photo. She was working in another case, and when I was in there taking photos, she's like, "Do you want me to leave this case open for you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do, and for more reasons than just pictures." And
Did
then
you
we
did
bought
one?
some
I'm
things.
trying to remember. Did one of your anniversary gifts come from Nancy's booth, or I think both
All
of
of
them
them,
did.
all of them
Yeah,
did.
that's right. Yeah.
You know, all of them did. It was one of those scenarios where I was just like, "Oh, quilts are really big. I'll get something small." So I got small things.
Yeah, I really, you can't go wrong with the needlework tools. All
No,
right.
certainly
So
can't.
I'm just gonna put us here in the middle.
I love
So,
that how you just keep like moving us around, and we're here, and we're
well,
here,
I
and
don't
we're
want to
here, and
cover up.
we're here.
I don't want to cover up good stuff. So this
No,
was
but
the.
I thought it was weird that I left that big space, but apparently
Oh,
it was for something.
yeah, for us. So Museum of Darien. I did not go on this tour, so you have to tell
And
everything.
so that tour was a whole day tour, and it was on
And is this in
Wednesday.
Connecticut or
Yeah,
where is?
yeah, Darien is Connecticut.
Okay.
So it was on Wednesday. So it's funny. I've heard from people that seminar used to be like mostly just the weekend, and then they just kept like adding stuff and adding stuff. So now you can come in on you can. Well, I came in Tuesday night, and you can do things starting on Wednesday. And one of the things that they start doing on the there's not a whole lot going on the Wednesday, but they've got tours. So and it's great because you don't have to worry about picking tours over something else. Like a lot of times when you get into the busier days, you have to make very, very difficult choices. When it's time to decide, there's a whole rigmarole about how you pick. Like it's tough. It's tough. So this was when Stephanie's like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna do a tour. I think I'm gonna hang out. Like maybe she'll decide that the tour would have been the better option. Anywho, so there were two tour groups that day going to different places. They were all day tours. That was like 8ish till like 5ish. I say ish just because there are other factors that might push things around, like the bus or traffic, or they might adjust the time last minute, kind of a thing. Anywho, my tour that you're looking at here was two places. It was the Museum of Darien, and then Fairfield Museum and History Center. I don't have any pictures of Fairfield on this particular set of things just because someone else took pictures for me and I just haven't gotten them yet. Because by the time we got to Fairfield, I was a pooped little girl, and Fairfield was just a quilt turning, And I just wanted to sit there like this the whole time and not touch my phone. My phone was also losing battery. So, and I didn't have an external battery pack at that point. So, I was just hanging. The other tour of the day was Bergen County, New Jersey, which obviously, like, we didn't go on. I don't have photos of it. People have been sharing photos on the AQSG members only Facebook group. So if you are a member of AQSG and either you are already a member of that Facebook group or you haven't joined, if you want to see people's photos from seminar and you didn't go, that's a great place to have FOMO and see stuff that you didn't get to see. So should I share the drama?
Well, I mean, I think you could probably just generalize
Yeah, like
the reason why you were so tired.
yeah, there was some drama on that tour. When we got to Darien, we were supposed to get our catering lunch because when you do all day tours, they're catered. Um, we were supposed to get it in time to leave Darien and go to Fairfield and then eat it on the bus, which eating on the bus is not fun. Um, and our catering kind of fell through. They really botched things, and
Yeah. It was like we're supposed to get 50 sandwiches, but the guy seemed to think he was only making 5, right?
yeah, because they had chosen for us 5 options of sandwiches that you got to pick from, and I had seen the purchase order because I probably should have to say like I was the bus mom slash monitor for that tour, and that's the person that like has the clipboard with everybody's name, um, that checks everybody on the bus and off the bus to make sure that you're not leaving anyone behind. You're not allowed to leave behind people that you don't like. As much as you might want to try, if they're rude or something. Anywho, um, so I had just been told like you just gotta get people on and off the bus. Don't worry, that's it. Don't worry. The person who organized this tour, they'll be waiting there for you. They'll handle it. Don't worry. I was like, okay, no problem. Well, when uh lunch fell through, it was a scramble. What do we do? The women that work at the museum, it was the director, I think maybe the office manager, she was either the curator or like the assistant, I think. I don't remember everyone's name, sadly. I should really like just call them. They were so amazing. They were so amazing to us. They went so above and beyond to help us solve that problem, which wasn't at all their problem. We're standing outside. Luckily it was a very nice day, and we're like waiting for our catering to show up, and one of the gals from the museum, she's like, there you guys ordered right next door, and I was like, huh? We did? Where? I can't see. There's like a shopping center next to us, but like I can't see what's in there. She's like, oh yeah, you ordered from whatever next door, and I was like, oh. And she's like, why don't I think her name was Emily. She's like, why don't I just walk over there and like just see what's going on? And I'm like, okay. So I'm standing there with the director, and she, I'm pretty sure it's Emily, calls the director and says, first, this guy claimed he didn't have an order for us at all. And I was like, well, that's a problem. So I was just like, okay. So they hang up the phone. I call Carrie to report the problem. I swear, at that point, sky parted and a lightning bolt came down from Carrie onto the restaurant. It was like Godzilla with flaming eyes and fire shooting.
And some sandwiches were had.
Yes. So there was a lot of back and forth. Basically, the guy thought it was only 5 sandwiches, which I just said, well, that's not a catering order. You think you'd look at that and be like, well, that's wrong. He didn't look at it right. He just saw 5 sandwiches, not the numbers next to it as to how many per sandwich. Anywho, they somehow did it really fast. We needed 51 orders, and it was like a box lunch scenario. So we did finally get
Screw
it.
Do not F around and find out about sandwiches.
Seriously. And we were hungry. Like, we were hungry. I mean, even I hadn't eaten that morning, because one thing you need to know about AQSG catering on these all-day tours, I've done multiples of them now, because I did 3 tours last year too when we were in Kentucky. They get big box lunches. Stephanie was on the Newark tour. She got to be the bus mom for that the next day, although hers was much easier to deal with than mine. But they really like get a lot of stuff. Like, this box lunch is supposed to have like a sandwich and chips and like a fruit salad and a cookie and a partridge in a pear tree. It was supposed to have, like, it's a lot of food. Most of the time it's more than you could actually eat. We'll get to the Newark one in a minute. So we did finally get it. We got on our bus. We even ended up with an extra one that we gave to the bus driver, because he was also really phenomenal. Darian, gals, if you're watching, like, thank you so much for all your help. And we went off to our next museum at Fairfield, which we had a little less time in. We still got to see all the quilts in that turning, which again you'll see pictures of later. But this, when we went to Darien, this was a quilt turning that you see here on the left. And then we also, it's a historic home. So we also toured the house. I didn't go on one of the guided tours, but this was the spinning room.
Yeah, I was going to say, this looks
interesting.
like some sort of fiber focused situation here.
There's also a room that has some cute samplers in it that I took pictures of. There's another room that has like a bed with the whole like bed linen shenanigans all over it. It was a very nice tour. The turning was exceptionally good. The room that we were in was really,
This quilt is very, very interesting looking,
isn't it? That's why I was like, oh, that's a good one to do a little thing on. It reminded me of when we were talking about, you know, like the snowflake paper cutting and stuff. And I will say, one of the things, I think I have some other photos of this quilt, but obviously you can tell by there's a person standing in front of me. I'm not the first person, I'm behind them. One of the, you see how in the center, I don't know if you want to zoom in a little bit, but you can see in the center there how they cut left, you know, like a leaf scenario, or like a clover, or I guess one of the blocks that you can't really see very well because it's being blocked by people, one of those inside cuts, only one, is shaped like differently. It's like bigger.
Oh, interesting.
And everyone was kind of like, what do you think? Yeah, I guess they're like clovers. Everyone was kind of like, what do you think that's all about?
Interesting.
Because that's like the only one that seems a bit weird. And somebody I think said, like, when it was going down, it got torn or damaged in some way, and she just cut a little bigger. You know, like maybe it got stained or got something weird happened to it. I didn't even notice it until they pointed it out. But once they pointed it out, it's the only thing I could see.
Yeah. So was this like another piece of white or cream colored fabric on top, or was that reverse applique?
No, it's cut out.
It's reverse applique. Very cool.
Yeah, it was see, these are the things you miss when you don't want to go on a Wednesday tour. Although everybody, you heard it here first. Watch next year when I'm like, so can I count on you on Wednesday to like help the vendor? She's like, no, I'm going on a tour. Yeah, it was both of the museums were very good. I saw more quilts than I ever want to see on a tour ever again. You know, like by the end of the day, you're just like, so like,
yeah, you know, I mean, I can look at quilts all day, every day, but yeah, there comes a point when you're like, no moss quilts, por favor.
Yeah.
Can I just have a drink? and then take a nap.
Yeah, I was very crispy by the like it was I was very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when we got on the first tour, and then by the end, especially again after all the drama, because there were a couple of people that were less than nice.
Well, we
They
don't have
were a
to
little
dwell on that.
they were a little prickly. They were a little prickly. I will say, like, if you're gonna come to seminar, if you're gonna go on these tours, if you're gonna do all these things, like, you gotta be flexible. As best as things happen, there's things that are not in our control. Another tour one day had very major delays due to traffic. Like, stuff happens, and like, you know, you just gotta roll with the punches and do the best you can. So this tour we also do half day tours,
Yeah, I
which
gotta
would
look at some of
be
this stuff up close.
yeah, I don't, not right now, but I do have up close stuff from that for tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Monday. This was the Historical Society of Rockland County, and they did 2 rounds of this. We did a 7:45 to 12:15 tour, and then there was the second one that was 12:30 to 5. These tours are like when they're close by, they'll do half day, which means like the lunch isn't included or anything like that. Totally worth it still. This was an entire exhibit upstairs, and then a personal quilt turning in the basement. So when we got there, they split us into 2 groups, and half did, the museum, and the other half did the quilt turning. And then there's also, it's a whole property, so you go outside, which started out as a pretty dumpy day, but by the time we got there and stuff, it was really pretty. And then there was another like historic home on the property, which I didn't go into and tour, but I did take a video like outside because it was really pretty. The one thing that stinks about all these tour buses for me is after a while they start to make me a little green.
Yeah.
And it can be a little hard to recover from that sometimes. So I wasn't feeling particularly well at this exhibit, but I did get a ton of photos of that.
I can't wait to see those.
Yeah, they're really good. The only thing I didn't like is the museum uses some yellowish tinted lighting, which is kind of hard to get around. It's just the lighting, we've talked about this before, just lighting museums use. But yeah, so then this was the day that Stephanie was the bus mom, and we went to the New York Museum of Art. Now, this is the only photo really that you're gonna see from this. The woman standing in the back there in the green, her name was Amy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
She's
she
the
was
curator.
the curator. She was our point person for the day. She was amazing, very personable, and when we go into these museums, we ask them about their policies on photos and sharing, and we are very upfront and tell them, like, we have a live stream, we'd love to put these on live stream, and obviously, of course, plug the institution. And everyone else we went to, which were small museums, were like, yes, fabulous, awesome, go forth and prosper. Amy was a little nervous about some of the, rights to works and things like that. And
yeah, they have they have contemporary art in this museum as well. There's a lot of historical stuff and contemporary, and so there's some copyright stuff with contemporary art that we had to be careful with. So
you can see on the right side of this picture, behind those 2 ladies standing, it looks a little fuzzy because I blurred out a piece of contemporary art in the background.
I just realized what that is.
Yeah. So I blurred that out, and was really only able to take, with her permission, a far away photo of her talking and things like that. So that being said, though, because obviously we approached her with no is a perfectly acceptable answer. You did see me share one photo on the Quilt Nerding social media on Instagram that was of the outside of the gift shop, because I wasn't getting in any outside works of art. She did say, let's talk about you guys coming back. And putting something.
Yeah, and I had a fairly lengthy conversation with her. She came to our weekend activities. So she registered and came to AQSG too. So that was really cool that we were like on her turf, and then she came and visited us. And I did have a somewhat lengthy conversation with her, and she's very excited to invite us back. So Jill and I, we're going to reach out to her and work out some stuff. So that is a potential future, very cool stream you might get to see, depending on what Amy can put together for us.
Well, and also on top of Amy's, we got a couple other invitations.
We did.
To exhibits and historical societies and things in the area, so we could potentially end up hitting, because the area that we were in, it's basically, you know, the tip of New York with the tip of Connecticut with the tip of New Jersey. So we could potentially hit like 3 different places when we can put all this stuff together, because people that were in charge of kind of organizing things, you know, we're very excited about, oh, look at this thing that you're doing and I want to be a part of that, and like that sounds really cool. And
yeah,
so the nice thing was is that, you know, we kind of opened some people's eyes to the possibilities, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. And Amy was very excited about AQSG and people being there and talking to her about the collection. She said there was lots of stuff that we were looking at that she's never seen, because there's never been an excuse to take it out. And it was really cool. They had like their conservator there who'd never seen some of these works, you know, kind of getting in and being able to look at stuff at the same time. As
yeah,
well,
I think
as...
she was documenting some damage and stuff that, you know, was probably with these quilts when they were accessioned into the institution, but she was documenting stuff that, because some of these quilts had not seen daylight in a very, very long time. So that was kind of interesting to watch what she was doing. And then there were 2 quilts there that Florence Pito got for the museum back in the 40s. So that was the primary reason I wanted to see the Newark, is because, you know, 2 people that I have spent a lot of time researching, Florence Pito and Dr. William Rush Dunton, both visited the Newark often. Dr. Dunton, I have pictures of all his notes about the Newark. I need to pull those out and see exactly what he looked at, because I wasn't sure what they were going to pull together for us. So
well, wouldn't it be cool though if we went back there and you were telling Amy all about that research of him talking about the Newark?
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that Amy did put together this really hefty packet for us.
Yes.
All about the quilts we were looking at, with pictures. So I'm hoping that going back, maybe we can ask her to see, you know, if we can film about some particular quilts we saw, because there were some things she had that were so amazing.
Yeah, depending on depending on how much research or information, so research that's done on a particular object, not even just the quilts, but any kind of research that's done on an object, as well as any of the information that comes in on the object, they put in their system. And, you know, so many museums and little places I've been to are like, oh, all we know is da 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 da. The Newark, it's an institution that's been around for a while, and they have really robust collection information. So she said, like, you know, it's not something that's searchable to the public, but it's something that within the museum system that they can look at, and they can pull up like astounding amounts of information about these items. So I thought that was so exciting, you know, and that's the nerdy museum geek in me, that always wanting to see how the sausage is made, and I, you know, got to see a little bit of that. Yeah.
And also when we're at the Newark, the lunch came on time, and it was very good. It was huge.
Oh my gosh, that lunch.
It was so funny because, like, again, it's another one of those like box lunch scenarios. The sandwiches were huge. Stephanie ate it in 2 meals. And
2 meals it took me.
Everyone, the office has you kind of pick what you want ahead of time, and then they have a list there of who ordered what. And I ordered a ham sandwich. and was very excited to like go, and they're all labeled and stuff with like what sandwiches, and I go in and I get my sandwich, and it's in like a box, like a Happy Meal, but a big Happy Meal. We go and we sit down, and I open mine up, and I'm like, this looks weird, and I realize they mislabeled my sandwich.
And I had just asked the woman whose sandwich it actually was if she wouldn't mind eating one of the other extras, because somehow or another we were one sandwich short of that type. So
yeah, and
I could see across the
Stephanie,
room she was doing one of these. So there was
Yep.
no doing switchies at that point.
yeah. So and Stephanie's like, just because there were a couple of extra ones, and Stephanie's like, just go get another one, and I was like, I've already touched this, like. It's fine. I'm not allergic. It's just this isn't my favorite. But like aside from the fact that like it just wasn't like my favorite kind of I ordered ham and I got roast beef, and that's not my favorite. It was very good, like in general, and that also had like a salad, like a leaf salad, then a pasta salad, 2 different desserts.
Two.
And a bag of chips.
Yep. And a drink.
Am I forgetting anything?
Drink. Yeah, we had a drink.
Yeah, it was huge, and the sandwiches were good size.
Yes,
Normally, like if
because-
you go on an all-day tour, you don't need to eat breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, we're talking New York, New Jersey. They know how to make deli sandwiches that are like, you can't get your mouth around them because they're so huge. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was pleasant. That was a pleasant surprise of what all was in that sandwich. I mean, what was in that meal.
But I feel like for all the drama that I had to suffer on
You
my
had a
first
lot of lunch
tour
drama.
day, like why am I the one that has to end up with the wrong sandwich? But you know something? You know what happened when I got the wrong sandwich? I just sat there and I big fat ate it anyways, and I didn't come back and like scream at anybody about it. Not even the boss mom.
Oh, looky here.
Right, Robin? Poor me. It was poor me. It was perfectly fine, and I survived, and it was fine. But I feel like just the need to make it a little more drama-y. I did. I was gonna say, Steph, I did leave a little spot there for us. Lo and behold, so this is our last. This is our last slide of this seminar. All the tea.
We
stuff.
we have still more things. So the quilt exhibit, which I recorded, and
I took stills.
I did, I mean, there were a couple times while I was recording that I kind of just did a little side talk to somebody, but like no more than like a minute. It took me almost a half an hour to get through that exhibit. There was enough quilts with enough detail. So that's going to be a long one that we get to see that. And then Jill has probably something commensurate for the vendor hall. I don't know how long your video is for that, but we have lots more to look at. One thing I wanted to do before we go away is I did want to mention our speakers. So our keynote was Dr. Myra Brown Green, and I have to say, so she's a quilt artist, and she does lectures. The premise of what she does is really interesting. So she's looking at a lot of symbology, and there's a lot of symbology in her quilts, and her quilts are just amazing. But what I think is so cool, and this is so like 12 years old of me, but I was like, you're an artist and you've got 2 last names that are both colors. Like, how freaking cool. So obviously I'm guessing, again, brown is her maiden name, green is her married name, and like, how cool is that? Our other speaker was Meg Cox, and she, you might subscribe to her newsletter. She puts out a great monthly newsletter. She's a former journalist. Her talk was about kind of the state of quilting. I missed it because I was doing something else. But I think it was recorded. I hope it was recorded because I do want to see it. But from what I heard, it was really great. And we're going to have their links in the description so you can look at these later. Mm-hmm. And then Yanniken was the other speaker, and she is someone who I mentioned her when I previewed the Pattern and Paradox show on my stream. When was that? The week before we went to seminar. She was involved in that. She has recently released a book about the New Deal, so the 1930s Depression era and the New Deal, the quilts that were created under all of the efforts
that
there.
that was the topic of her her lunch talk too.
Yes. Yeah, and so that was what that was about. But she also does Amish quilts, and she does a podcast. She's kind of all over the place. She's somebody that I aspire to all the things she does. So I just wanted to call them out. We'll have all of their links in the description, so you can go check them out. But they were fantastic speakers, and I enjoyed them.
And then, I mean, it's a good point to mention that AQSG did record some things from the big ballrooms, like these speakers and things like that. And there'll potentially be like there might be a couple study centers offered. So if you are not a member, it's a good time to, Stephanie, what are you doing?
Trying to get us back on here the way I wanted to.
I was gonna say, it's a good time to become a member if you potentially want access to buy those recordings, because
Where'd we go?
Wow, you just
I don't know what happened. Oh, there we are.
those recordings I believe will be like a limited time thing. So, and then also, like, don't forget that like winter seminar is coming too.
Yes,
So
winter is coming.
And I don't believe, like, Steph, I know you don't plan to do your Sue for the winter seminar, right? Yeah. So,
No, I will probably just be a regular old audience member for winter seminar this year, unless
you're going to be regular and old?
regular and old, yeah. So yeah.
I feel like we talked about a lot of things.
We did, and we didn't even, just barely touched just the tip of the iceberg with our week.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe next year, like, we should, like, wear body cams or something. You know, or like
body cam
like,
footage,
like those like headlamps. Like, we get one of those. It's like a camera
with the GoPro with the helmet.
Yeah.
The helmet.
Yeah, like because there were so many, like, you don't understand, like, by the time I had said to Steph, like, oh crap, we've got to film stuff, it was already Friday at the silent auction, or the live auction. Like, all that time had gone by.
Yeah.
Where we hadn't filmed or taken photos. And the other thing that stinks is we didn't take a photo, because we did mention Kellen, but another nerd was there for the first time too, was Kate.
Yes.
And then Jen, I don't know, I haven't seen Jen, if you're like lurking around, she was there too, and I believe she was a first time attendee, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we also mentioned Vanessa, who lurks sometimes and works with me at the museum. So, like, there were people, we didn't get a picture.
Yes, that is one of my deepest regrets, is not getting nerd pictures. And
yeah, like, why didn't we put Anne to work and make her take some more official?
Yeah, well, she's got her marching orders for next year, so.
And we didn't even take pictures with any of our other friends.
No, the only pictures that I'm in is with my auction win, my quilt, and the picture with you, and then the pictures you took during my study center. So I was moving too fast the rest of the time.
And sadly, the seminar did not have an official photographer this year. They normally do. So there aren't, like, surprise photos of us lurking anywhere, unless someone else, took some terrible photos with their phone.
And
which,
yes, please don't let anybody have caught terrible photos of me.
Yeah, Robin, we really do need to have a designated camera person.
Yeah, it was, the person that was supposed to do it had a conflict, and it was kind of, I think, probably late in the game. I think that was realized, and there just wasn't time to find a person. I've mentioned before, my husband he does nature photography and sports photography, and I started asking him. I said, so next year, and before I could even get like really anything else out, he said, no, thank you. And then he said, what are you asking me? So after I got my full ask out, he has not responded. So I don't know.
Oh, and she asked him 3 days ago, and they're still not speaking.
There is still no answer. So I don't know. Hopefully that other photographer, who is a very good photographer of the things that we do, she is a quilt oriented person, so she knows what she's doing. Not that my husband doesn't, but he's not a quilt photographer. Anyway, hopefully she'll be able to come next year, and if not, maybe, I don't know, maybe I can trick him into coming.
I really like to know the insides of that plan and just how exactly you plan to execute.
Have you ever, like, how you can leave a trail of something for an animal? He will respond to say trail of Reese's peanut butter cups. I just leave that trail, and then then I can capture him and make him go to Maine. We'll see how
if I was the one laying the Reese's out of nowhere, you'd be like, Jill, why does the trail end here and start again over there? And I'd be like, sorry.
Well, see, the good thing is, it's good. I can use Reese's because I'm allergic to them. As delicious as a Reese's peanut butter cup is, and how I wish I could eat them because they are so
How
delicious.
do you know they're delicious if you're allergic to them?
Because I used to eat them despite my allergy. I would have like the swollen face.
Oh my God.
They're so good.
I might have
anyway.
to feed you one just to get a picture of that face.
It's not cute. So yeah, I myself would not eat them. It's safe for me to have them in my.
Now you're making me like cry with laughter. It's that time of the night where my eyes just decide to do weird things.
Yeah, it's probably time for us to go.
All right, well, it's been delightful.
It has. We have so much more quilty tea to spill.
Monday. Oh,
Monday.
for crying out loud.
Yes, you are crying
I
out
can't
loud.
hide it anymore. I'm just so happy about my quilts. You guys are so great. I'm really not crying. It looks like it.
Yeah. Fresh pot of tea for Monday, yes.
Yeah, really pretty stuff for Monday. So please, don't miss it. It'll be 2 p.m. and we're gonna dual stream it again. So it'll be Twitch and YouTube, and that'll be that. And then we have to plan more.
Yep. Well, we'll figure out when the next ones will be. I think. Next week is a big week for us because we have needlework nights too. We have our mock clean episode, so yeah, it'll be lots of goodness. So, thanks, Druid. Yeah, seminar did not get the best of us.
I'm still here. I'm okay. I promise.
All
Thanks
right.
everybody for watching.
Well, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.